Hi everybody, thank you for coming to this webinar. My name is Emily Gigliotti and I just want to apologize for my voice. I am suffering from strep throat, so currently I am home, but I'm going to give you this webinar today. So my webinar topic today is on mathematically gifted students. How can we meet their needs? This is a big question that I've kind of asked myself over the course of the semester. And it's something I've been struggling with and working towards improving every single day as a teacher in the classroom. So that goes into my weakest tip area. So for me, when I did the self-assessment in the beginning of the semester, my biggest tip area that I struggled with was providing challenging, rigorous learning experiences for my students. I work in a Title I school district for 5th graders, so I'm used to having a lot of students at a lower academic ability level. However, there are students in my class who do achieve academically on a higher level, but my problem is that I struggle every day to provide the challenging experiences that they need in order to succeed, because it is true that we do have to challenge everybody. The students who are at a lower level and the students who are at a higher level of learning. They need to be appropriately challenged so they can learn to the best of their abilities. For me, my biggest challenge was providing appropriate challenge to those students and differentiating instruction to address the different levels of readiness. Specifically for me, mathematics is one area that I struggle with the most. Some examples from my classroom that I struggle with is especially during independent math time, where I have taught them the lesson, we did some guided practice, and it gets into the independent practice, and I have my academically achieving students. I have about 3 of them in my class of 21 who they just go right through it, and they know exactly what they're doing, and we want them to get to that point. But at the same time, we want to challenge them. We don't just want it to be, okay, well, you know this and that's it. You're done. You're great. Have a nice time. Free time. Go read a book. We want to challenge them to their abilities, because we know that they can achieve so much more than some of our other students might. So the independent practice point in my mathematical instruction is something that I struggle with. I'm really good at questioning techniques, especially during whole group instruction and guided practice, but it comes to the independent part, that's where I struggle the most. So today I'm going to give you one research-based strategy that I found that I started using that is so helpful. And it allows the students to be independent learners, but also use me as a guide if they're confused, and it pushes them. It gets them thinking more about the math concepts that they're learning in the classroom. So the big question is, how can we challenge our gifted students and meet the needs of our gifted students in math? So for tip 4, it's all about challenging rigorous learning experiences. And although this could be for any subject, reading, math, science, social studies, anything, math is the one portion that I really struggled with the most. So I'm going to talk to you about the strategy today. So first off, I found this article written by J. Rettegel and Fellow. It was published by Gifted Child Today in the fall 2004. So it is an older publication, but that doesn't mean that the information is not accurate, the information isn't true. Obviously, the more present research is definitely more beneficial, but I truly believe that what they're saying is most important. So to begin, what even is a gifted student, right? What even is a gifted math student? Well, stating in this article, it states that gifted math students are often able to discern answers with unusual speed or accuracy, so being able to do it quickly and being done with it. They will be able to see relationships among topics, concepts, and ideas without intervention of formal instruction. So these are the students that really feel like they don't need you to teach them the lesson. They can kind of just do it on their own and figure it out. And they may skip over steps. So if one day you're teaching area models to talk about multi-digit multiplication, they don't need to do the area model. They can just go right into the standard way, which of course is great. Like, we want the students to be able to do that, but we want them to also be pushed and challenged a little bit. So that was a quick little definition of what a gifted math student kind of looks like. These students also, this is something I'm adding in, are able to move through the mathematical practices very quickly and concisely. So some of your struggling students might have a hard time attending to precision or determining if something is reasonable. But your advanced students, your gifted math students, will be able to do all of those things with no problem. So trying to figure out how we can push them so that way they are learning the best of their abilities. So one of the concerns was that we found that most educational settings don't adequately address the needs and the needs of the gifted students, and that teachers only make a few minor modifications to the curriculum to teach the students. So the strategy I'm going to talk to you about today is enrichment. So enrichment is designed, from the article, it says, to expose students to a variety of topics related to those of the regular education program. And it just modifies existing mathematics that is going on to allow for further investigation. These students need to be appropriately challenged, and additional learning opportunities will help with divergent thinking, individual projects, and group activities that can help to connect these concepts together. So whether that means having them do a couple of the hardest problems first with the independent practice, and if they can get the hardest problems first, maybe it's the word problems that connect the standard algorithm as well as the additional further understanding, and then having them do enrichment would definitely be something you want to have them do, but not just jumping right into the enrichment, because you want to make sure they're understanding first. And it helps them explore complex problems and math ideas for gifted students. So I found this thing on Teachers Pay Teachers by Gina Kennedy, and it's an enrichment program for the entire year. We're moving into fractions next. So these are different projects, and it gives you every single standard for math in 5th grade with different things that the students can work on. So once the students are achieving that the standard algorithm and they're showing that they understand, enriching them through technology, which is also extremely important because it helps them be independent and really research the information, and giving them these task cards that are real world problems. So researching a recipe for something, figuring out how much is needed for that, and converting it into fractions, and then also as test prep questions. So this is something that takes a good amount of time, but it pushes them further. It allows them and forces them to integrate those concepts that they learned in class on their own and show how they can do it independently, which is awesome. Bringing in that real world concept and understanding is crucial and essential to student learning, and will push those academic students even further than we already do. So for my, this tip that I struggle with, the rigorous learning experience, my plan for this now is to just incorporate these task cards as much as I can for my 3 students that are struggling with being challenged, those higher academic students that need to be challenged, that need to be pushed. So my plan is to kind of incorporate that into my instruction as most as I can during the independent practice phase, giving them these task cards that they can read the questions, solve on their own, or with a small group, will expand on their thinking, enrich them, get them thinking critically about the concept, and apply what they're learning in class and what they already know to other concepts that other students might not be able to achieve at this level. So in order to move my practice forward and to improve this weakest tip area, this is something that I have started, and I found that the kids love it. They don't get bored. A lot of times my students were kind of just sitting there. They already did the work. It was correct. It was done, but they weren't getting additional materials or supplemental materials to push them even further. So this is something I'm going to be doing more frequently when I see that they are achieving the content and mastering the content, then I will give it to them. If I see they are struggling with something, I'm not going to give this to them right away, right? I want to kind of remediate and then give this to them as needed. And this is something they can do independently as well. And when I assist other teachers in growing this area, I feel like this is something that all teachers can improve on. I just want to suggest, especially with mathematics, just to ensure your students aren't bored, that they're being appropriately challenged, and that we're differentiating instruction for the students that need the attention, that we might not always give them the attention that they deserve. Because a lot of times we focus on our lower ability students, not really our higher ability students, because they already know what they're doing, but they still need to be pushed. So kind of showing them how these task cards for enrichment and how we can incorporate technology into the classroom, because all these task cards require you to use technology and do research-based activities in order to complete them. So showing them how they can do it and applying it one concept to the next. Maybe teach them, my colleagues, a mini lesson on adding fractions with unlike denominators, and then having them do the task card and seeing how a higher ability student would find it easy just to do the classwork, but then might actually push them forward and really encourage them to think more critically when doing the real world application problems on their own, on the laptops, maybe with a small group, would definitely help. So that is my short little webinar today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Push those students that need to be challenged, encourage them to try their best and think critically, and to not just give up when they know what they're doing and to just call it a day. Push those students. So students need to be pushed just as much as the lower academic ability students do as well. So my last question for you is, how can we meet the needs of these gifted students? Well, enrichment and technology, pushing them, challenging them, and being there for them, and differentiating their instruction so that way they are able to achieve more than they already can. So thank you guys for joining my webinar. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you were able to learn something. If you are looking for these task cards for the enrichment, you can find them on Teachers Pay Teachers. It is the 5th grade STAR Math by Gina Kennedy. There are projects and activities that she provides, an entire year's worth of curriculum for your grade level to enrich those students and to get them thinking a little bit harder. Have a great night.